My name is Darren Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to help you understand context in the war in Ukraine. So we're going to go back to Monday, the 5th of February. Today is Monday, February 12th, as I'm recording this. And we're going to look at what's the big story that day and what is a story that you may have missed. So we're going to do that each day of the week. So Zelensky confirms plans to replace commander of armed forces as part of a reset. Now, we'd heard some rumors about this, but yeah, apparently there was something to this. And even I thought that, no, there's got to be some propaganda to it. But no, truly, that's what was happening. And it wouldn't come out for a few days when the actual change would hit. A story that you might not have heard, or that if you weren't paying attention to American politics you might have missed, was that Trump hated the bipartisan immigration Ukraine deal so much that he was falsely claiming that he didn't endorse the GOP senator who helped write it. The senator who helped write it, his name is James Lankford. He's conservative as they make them, but Trump wants to use the immigration issue as something to run on, and so he wants to stop these bills, apparently. I think that's a terrible way of doing this. If you want to address it, which most Republicans actually do, just address the thing. Okay, Tuesday, 6 February 2024, the big story was that it was confirmed, now there were rumors about this, that Tucker Carlson actually did get to interview Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin. This was confirmed by BBC on Tuesday, and then the story would come out on Wednesday. What you might not have seen was that Russia labeled the Japanese association that was seeking to return some of the islands right near it undesirable. Now, Soviet Union, then back after World War II, absorbed these few nations right next to the chain of islands that make up Japan, and Japan wants it back. And it's a really interesting conundrum because they could use the same logic that Russia's using right now in order to say this has been our historic territory. Okay, Wednesday, 7 February, the big story was that Senate Republicans blocked a bipartisan border package that they had been working on since December, maybe even talking about working on in November of last year. And then they scrambled to find some kind of support for Ukraine aid in some other way. Now, the story that you probably missed was that Russia might be trying to build 10,000 attack drones a year for use in Ukraine. And certainly they're working on multiple ways of proceeding with the war, and they're far more serious about it than we are in the West. So on Thursday, there were a number of big stories. So the first was that after what happened with the Senate, where the Republicans voted down that bill, they actually put forward another bill that took the immigration piece out. And so 17 GOP voters joined with the Democrats to advance a $95.3 billion Ukraine-Israel aid package. It had a little bit for Taiwan, I believe, as well, without the border information or the border component of that original bill. So they're pushing that one forward, which I found to be absolutely fascinating. We just delayed for almost 3 months for what appears to be no real good reason. At the same time, Zelensky named a new Ukrainian military commander. This was Syrskyi, and said it's time for renewal, and so they're going a different direction. It's now official. At the same time, we're also dealing with the fallout from the Tucker Carlson interview, and we're looking at it going, what just happened? I mean, it came out on Wednesday. On Thursday, we're looking at it going, Did he really say this? Why did Putin go on for a half hour about history between 1000 and the Soviet Union, 1000 AD and the Soviet Union? It was a weird thing. And Tucker didn't really ask any really difficult questions. He just was kind of lobbing softballs, some that Putin missed. So those were the three big stories. When I say that Putin missed, he was asking, well, what does your Orthodox faith mean to you? And then he just kind of talked about something about history and didn't even address that, which would have been tailor-made for his conservative audience in the United States, but Putin apparently didn't catch it. Okay, What you probably missed, though, on that day was that Russian anti-war candidate Boris Nadezhdy was banned from the election officially. And so it's not like we didn't expect that to happen. He was actually picking up some momentum, and you can't have that. What they want to have is an election where Putin clearly runs away with it, and that the Communist Party candidate who thinks that his big platform is about agrarian reforms like the 1930s were a good thing. You run a guy like that, I think it's now a four-way race, and of course Putin will run away with it. Okay, Friday, 9 February 2024. So again, the big story now after yesterday was that Alexander Syrskyi, everybody wants to know who he is. He's got a kind of a mixed review. He's apparently a very smart officer. He was born in Russia. He lived in Ukraine after the fall of the Soviet Union and was working with the Ukrainian army ever since. And he's known as kind of a butcher in the sense that he may prioritize the mission over his men, and he's working out some of that, like trying to comfort them that he's not going to take their lives lightly. Okay, what you might have missed is that there's a bipartisan group of lawmakers that arrived in Kyiv, and they're on a fact-finding mission to see for themselves, see what's on the ground. I was reading this morning about one of them saying, "I wish Mike Johnson could see what I just saw." Okay, so that's what happened then on Friday. On Saturday, 10 February, Ukraine Deputy Defense Minister was dismissed. Another defense minister, not the new guy, but there's a handful of assistants. Now, this is an okay thing. There's nothing wrong with that. So there's like 3 or 4 or 5 of them, something like that, that were changed out in the reshuffle, and that's a good thing. I think any leader should be able to choose his team. A president should get to choose his cabinet. The defense minister should be able to choose, or the commander should be able to choose his subordinate commander so that he feels comfortable and understands where these people are. That there's nothing wrong with that. But this is also comforting that these guys were dismissed, that it was not just a personal thing about Zaluzhnyi. It was more of a legitimate reshuffle than that. Okay, what you might have missed, though, was that NATO reportedly wants to coordinate arms supplies to Ukraine instead of the U.S. Now, you would have seen that if you were watching my 3 big stories, because I did talk about that. That's important. I think it's sad for the United States, but it's actually a very healthy thing for making sure that supplies get coordinated to Ukraine, and it will make it more programmatic rather than each nation deciding what they want to give. It'll be NATO deciding what they give if they do go down this path. Okay, Sunday, 11 February. What happened here, the big story was that Ukraine downs 40 out of, I think, 45 drones overnight, and that was important. It's a quick win for the new guy. Now, they're also working on other ways of downing these drones, and that's as important, but we want to start off on the right foot. What story you might have missed was that Russia has recruited 15,000 Nepalis. These are human beings from the country of Nepal that have come to fight in Ukraine. 15,000 from Nepal, and Nepal has now banned people from doing that, from going off to fight in Russia. I mean, it's almost insane. Okay, it's Monday, February 12th, as I'm going through this now. So we're going to stop there. And thank you for your time, and thank you for listening. I hope this helped you understand what's going on over the past week. Again, big stories was the release of Zaluzhnyi and replacement, and the Tucker Carlson interview, and the U.S. Senate. The first bill that was supposed to include the border was scrapped, and now they're working on, and last night apparently they voted for the second time to move the bill forward, just the standalone foreign bill, not having anything to do with the border for Ukraine and Israel and a little bit of Taiwan. All right, that's it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.